The story is about a character named Huang Ying, who is a chrysanthemum spirit. From Songling's Strange Stories from a Chinese Studio. The poet Tao Yuanming from the Eastern Jin Dynasty is known for his love of chrysanthemums. In this story, Songling gives the chrysanthemum spirit the surname Tao and the name Huang Ying, which is quite fitting. Ma Kai, a native of Shenzhen, comes from a family that has generations of admiration for chrysanthemums. His love for chrysanthemums deepened in his generation. Whenever he heard about good chrysanthemum varieties, he would go to great lengths to obtain them, regardless of distance. One day, a guest from Jinling stayed at his house and mentioned that his relative had 1 or 2 chrysanthemum varieties that were not found in the north. Ma Kai was excited and immediately prepared to accompany the guest to Jinling. The guest helped him acquire 2 young chrysanthemum shoots. Ma Kai treasured them like precious jewels. On his way back, Ma Kai encountered a young man riding a small donkey, following a luxurious carriage. The young man was handsome and refined. Ma Kai struck up a conversation with him, and the young man introduced himself as Tao. They discussed chrysanthemum cultivation techniques, and Ma Kai invited him to stay at his humble home. Tao's sister, who was with him, expressed a preference for spacious courtyards. Ma Kai gladly offered his home, and the 3 of them returned together. Tao's sister, known as Huang Ying, was skilled in conversation and often engaged with Ma Kai's wife in sewing activities. One day, Tao suggested to Ma Kai that they should sell chrysanthemums to sustain their livelihood due to Ma Kai's financial challenges. However, Ma Kai was offended by this idea, considering it an insult to chrysanthemums. Tensions grew between them, and Tao began collecting discarded chrysanthemum branches from Ma Kai's garden. He stopped dining at Ma Kai's house. Ma Kai, noticing the bustling activity around Tao's home, discovered that people were buying chrysanthemums in large numbers. He felt a mix of annoyance at Tao's pursuit of wealth and resentment for Tao's hidden expertise. Tao's fortunes gradually improved, and he established a flower shop in the city. He became prosperous through selling chrysanthemums and other exotic plants. Meanwhile, Ma Kai's wife passed away, and Ma Kai developed feelings for Huang Ying. Eventually, Tao sent a letter suggesting that Huang Ying should marry Ma Kai. The timing of the letter coincided with the day Ma Kai's wife had passed away, and Ma Kai found it surprising. He showed the letter to Huang Ying and sought advice on delivering the dowry. Huang Ying declined the dowry and suggested Ma Kai move into her grand residence. Ma Kai disagreed and chose a lucky day to marry Huang Ying. After over a year, Tao still hadn't returned, and Huang Ying continued to manage the chrysanthemum cultivation. The business prospered, and Ma Kai and Huang Ying lived a prosperous life. After Huang Ying married Ma Kai, she opened a side door in the wall that connected to the southern courtyard of their residence. She would visit the southern courtyard every day to supervise the servants' activities. Ma Kai felt uneasy relying on his wife's wealth, so he insisted that they keep separate financial records for the northern and southern courtyards to avoid confusion. However, despite their efforts, Huang Ying continued to bring items from the southern courtyard to use in the northern one. In just half a year, their northern courtyard was filled with items from the Tao family. Ma Kai promptly arranged for everything to be returned to the Tao family, and instructed the servants not to bring anything from the southern courtyard anymore. However, within days, the mixing continued. This back and forth exchange happened several times, frustrating Ma Kai. Huang Ying laughed and commented, "Your pursuit of purity might be causing you unnecessary mental strain." Ma Kai felt ashamed and decided to stop interfering, leaving everything to Huang Ying's decisions. Huang Ying then gathered artisans, acquired construction materials, and embarked on a large construction project. Despite Ma Kai's objections, the 2 courtyards were transformed into one grand complex within a few months. However, following Ma Kai's advice, Huang Ying refrained from cultivating and selling chrysanthemums anymore, though they continued to enjoy a lavish lifestyle. Kai expressed his discomfort with their newfound affluence, stating, "I have lived a simple life for 30 years, and now you have tarnished it. Living in this world, relying on my wife's riches feels like lacking the qualities of a true man. While others pray for wealth, I pray for us to become poor." Huang Ying explained that her intentions weren't greedy but to enhance the reputation of Tao Yuanming's love for chrysanthemums, and she insisted that they should remain rich. She said, "Becoming rich from poor is difficult, but becoming poor from rich is easy. Feel free to spend the money on the bedside as you wish. I won't be stingy." Kai replied, "Spending someone else's money is also embarrassing." Huang Ying responded, "You don't want to be rich, and I don't want to be poor. We have no choice but to live separately. This way, the clear-minded stay clear, and the muddled stay muddled. It won't harm anyone." Huang Ying built a thatched hut in the garden for Kai and arranged for a maid to attend to him. Kai lived contentedly. However, he often missed Huang Ying and would go to her, spending the night there. Huang Ying teasingly remarked, "Eating on the east and sleeping on the west, a pure-hearted person shouldn't be like this." Kai smiled and didn't respond, eventually moving back in with Huang Ying. One day, Kai visited Jinling during the chrysanthemum season and found a vibrant flower market with various exquisite chrysanthemum varieties. He suspected they were cultivated by Tao. The owner of the flowers turned out to be Tao, and Kai was delighted to see him. He expressed his longing for Tao and stayed at Tao's flower shop that night. Kai insisted that Tao return home, but Tao wanted to stay in Jinling. Over time, Tao returned home and focused on rebuilding the garden. He played chess and drank with Kai every day, not forming any other friendships. Kai tried to find a wife for Tao, but Tao declined the offer. Huang Ying arranged for servants to care for Tao's needs, and over the years, they had a daughter. Tao became known for his strong alcohol tolerance and often wrote invitations for his friend Zhang Sheng to visit. They developed a deep friendship. On the flower festival of the 15th day of the second lunar month, Zhang Sheng brought a barrel of medicinally infused white wine to Tao's place. They agreed to finish it together, but Kai secretly added more wine to the barrel. After consuming all the wine, Zhang Sheng fell into a drunken stupor. His servants carried him away while Tao turned into a chrysanthemum on the ground. Kai wasn't surprised and followed Huang Ying's method to pull Tao out. However, Tao's transformation worried Kai when the leaves began to wither. He informed Huang Ying, who hurried to the scene. She exclaimed, "You've killed my brother." Huang Ying buried the withered stem in a pot, took it to her room, and nurtured it daily. Several days later, news arrived that Zhang Sheng had died. The chrysanthemum stem gradually sprouted and bloomed in September, bearing pink flowers with a scent of wine. Huang Ying named it Drunk Tao. She nurtured it with wine, and it flourished even more. In the future, Tao's daughter grew up and married into a prestigious family. Huang Ying lived her life quietly, and everything remained normal. The historian said, during the Tang Dynasty, Fu Yi died drunk and claimed to be a person of green mountains and white clouds. Although people in later generations pitied him, they still considered drinking as a great pleasure. By planting this intoxicated Tao in the courtyard, it's like meeting a good friend every day and facing a beautiful lady. How can one not be earnest in seeking such joy?